Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. I apologize if it seems like I'm about ready to laugh, but it was because Dolores and I were speaking I always talk to my guests prior to them coming on, just so that we warm up a little bit. We just chitty chat, but it was such a fun chitty chat that I was afraid I was going to start to laugh when I started today's episode. So let's just hope that that is putting it out into the universe, how our episode will be today. Hello, Dolores. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you please give everyone your background, your bio, because it's 30 pages, I heard. So I wasn't going to read 30 pages, story time with Christina. So welcome.
Right. Well, hi, Christina. Thanks for having me. I said my resume makes me sound like I'm 180, probably Guinness Book of Records, oldest woman in the world. I'll try to do a thumbnail sketch here. I was born in Washington, D.C. That was rare enough as it is. Grew up in Maryland, went to private schools, Jesuit University, had phenomenal summer jobs. Being from the metropolitan area with Washington, D.C. as our downtown, everything that happened always happened big. So when you're growing up, everything was bigger to you. You know, you had access to more activity, more people, more things going on in the news all the time. And, I had fabulous summer job opportunities. I worked at the Shrivers camp. Sergeant Shriver founded the Peace Corps, the Special Olympics. I don't know if a lot of your viewers, listeners, or your people even remember half of the people that I've met in my life. I've been lucky, very lucky. And I had, I did a lot of things. And then all of my growing up, my mom was a big wig at the National Institute of Health after my dad died, and going to NIH after school every day. I got real involved in a lot of the stuff going on at NIH. And, but you were always really active. There was always something that you could get active into, that were available. And it springboarded me into my career. I majored in accounting, minored in psychology, neither one of which I went into, but I was glad I had the financial background. And I was recruited by Pan American World Airways. And that was phenomenal because that was my first career, and I always had wanderlust. My dad was in the Air Force. We were always at Andrews Air Force Base. I was mesmerized by planes, wanted to be a pilot. So this was perfect anyway. And I traveled around the world. I was like 3 times by the time I was 23. I'd been to all the continents, which opened up phenomenal. I don't know, I was so, I had such wanderlust, and I was always curious with, foreign cultures, foreign protocol. Then I was lucky enough to work the White House press charters, the embassies. I worked with all the embassies, the World Bank. So every flight was important to a lot of people. It was important to all of us, but it was very important. So, but I learned and I met so many people, and I think meeting and developing that network, and have been able to maintain my network for years. My network has grown and diversified, and that just kind of made me more eager to kind of enhance every facet of myself. I'm very multifaceted, and I cross promote a lot and tie in a lot. And then I married a major national TV sportscaster and play-by-play commentator for the NBA. So after I left the airlines, after 15 years, I was 3 months pregnant and thought I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and which has never to date happened. And great mom, but
me neither. Nope.
You just kind of, because you fall into these other opportunities, and I'm not one to say no.
No.
So I just kind of fell into radio and television. So I spent the next 15 in broadcast, and I became amazing stuff. I was way ahead of the curve. I lived in 9 states, which was great because Pan Am didn't fly within the country. So I saw the world, but didn't see a lot of the states that I wanted to see. So I lived in 9 states that God was saying, look, this is the way to do it now. So I was an on-air hostess for the first women's radio show that started out as a 2-hour show. I didn't want to be, but I had to take over because the guys were doing their sports talk from training camp, and they needed someone to fill in. So anyway, I was an on-air hostess for the Colorado Woman, which then became a syndicated show. And I got my own sponsors. I mean, it was fun. It was great. I had more listeners. I tried to keep the men out of it. They listened because I followed sports talk. So all
yes,
had on, we're all like, nosy guys. And they were all on too. So I had a really good, I just fell into it. Then I became a copywriter. I produced sports talk shows, all kinds of talk shows. I fell into a lot of pro sports. And then I became, told you I've done a lot of things. I was a columnist for a Pro Sports Wives magazine that was really an exceptional magazine. My column was called A Word to the Wives for Pro Sports Wives magazine, of course. And
that's so cool.
It was great. It was very cool because the wives have to do so much more than you think. And there's so much emotion with athletes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So involved with lots of athletes. And then a former pro NFL player and I produced a show called Flying Color Sports. And then we flew around and spoke at colleges to the athletes before their draft on senior weekend. So they and their parents could understand the financial aspects of going into the pros and starting a career because agents don't take care of them. I did that. I got my financial license and was a financial advisor and stockbroker at Morgan Stanley and Raymond James and a global wealth company out of Alabama. While I was doing that, I told you I do a lot of things at one time because they're all interrelated, or at least I try to interrelate them.
I'm sorry, I have to interject a second.
Okay, I know.
Because that's so, one of the things that I always do with my guests when I bring them on is so that we can establish the tag is we are the same, right? Even though we do different jobs or we may be a different gender or different ethnic background or race, whatever, we still have something that it kind of links us together, intertwined. So when you were describing the fact that you've been all over the place and you've done all these amazing things, right? But everything is intertwined. Okay. That's exactly what I do too, right? Because if you look at this stuff, you're like, what?
I know.
What now?
So much in common, honestly. I mean, we can laugh. That's why we were laughing. In common, we identify right away. I think that's why exactly we do. I don't find what I've done and what I'm saying that unusual or odd. I'm sure people who hear about it, because I've had people say, oh my God. And I go, well, it's just that the opportunity arises and I never pass up a good opportunity. Worst thing in the world to me is a missed opportunity. It really is. That pains me.
That's absolutely right. And one of the things that my dad used to always say to me as a kid, and now my son is saying, because he said it to me this weekend when we were working on this darn garage together. It was the Bronx Tale where he said, I think it was De Niro, there's nothing worse than wasted talent, right? When he was talking to Colojo. And right. That's the same thing. You have always seized the opportunities, although they may not have been in your sweet spot as far as, this is not my industry. Now it's
never in my, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to lose the thought. But it's so true because I became a single self-supporting mom, and the challenges, and I love a challenge. I mean, I've never met a challenge I don't like because I think 90% of successful fulfillment is self-confidence. So
right.
You gain more and more and more. I can do that because I've done it before. I can do that now because I've done it before. So I went when I got to Cincinnati, and I'm just so lucky. I'm so, I fall into people who introduce me to other people, and then they offer me things that are really great. And I've been able to meet really a lot of very well-known and well-connected people. Doesn't make me any different, but it has they'll call me and say, hey, you're perfect for this or that. But when I got to, and these 9 states I moved to, I knew no one in any of the 9 states, no one. I knew everybody. I mean, no one personally. I've worked with, people on air, people, whatever, but I'm talking about like personal friends.
Right.
I got to Cincinnati and I went to Catholic schools, so I went to all Catholic schools, Jesuit University, Catholic, private. And I get to Cincinnati and my Jewish attorney introduced me to the president of his shul, the largest conservative synagogue in the country. And my name's Wolf, and I have that East Coast kind of sound. So, and I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I think they all think I'm Jewish. Oh, honey, well, and I'm like, this is great. And and then he offered me vice president of new business development for the synagogue to be the largest fundraiser. And I was the largest fundraiser than anyone. And let me tell you something, the who's who of the world belonged to this synagogue. And it was the one that was represented at the peace treaty at the White House and so forth and so on. But the best part, listen to this, I got to study with the rabbis at Hebrew Union College. Now, when you're Catholic, it's like 2 entirely different books. You see about everything, we're all the same.
Yeah.
So I studied with the rabbis at Hebrew Union College. I worked with an underground Holocaust group that were just, oh my God, these were my angels. I have become so fulfilled as one put together with the 2 parts because I feel I love religious. I love to, when I traveled, I'd go to the cathedrals, churches, temples, mosques, wherever I was. I was all over the Middle East. I was everywhere, Asia, you name it. And I was so intrigued by different religions and things because I think because you grow up, you're separated from it and then you want to learn. So I thought, well, I'll learn because I can do my job better,
Yes.
It proves me as a professional business person to deliver what people pay me for, then I'll do it. So, and then I got home one day and I got this beautiful letter from Elie Wiesel. Oh my God. I'm like, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Boston University. He was so warmed by this letter I wrote in the New York Times about his article about letting his people go from Gorbachev. I mean, this is how my life, this is why I said, but everything, it's like connecting all these dots. Everything has a piece and a part in making this whole. And I think physically being and traveling and having that under my belt, I spent much of my free travel time in Africa. I'm very philanthropic and I'm very active I'm an animal activist and I'm anything to do with children. Okay.
Right.
So I have worked with the powers that be, St. Jude Research, everything. And because I had access to all these pro athletes and radio and television celebrities, I hate to use that word, but that's what they were in people's minds. Together, the greatest things that generated cash flow for these charities and nonprofits. But my girlfriend, who worked also at the Shriver camp, went in the Peace Corps as a nurse, and she opened a clinic to fight HIV through teenage pregnancies. And we built a hospital. I'm not taking credit for building a hospital and stuff, but like outside of Kenya, every year we send doctors, medicines, clothing, for the hospital. After the hospital's been built the hospital. I'm the blanket lady. If you go to DC, that's how I taught myself on these long haul flights. I crochet baby capes and baby blankets.
Oh.
That's it. So, but they have pictures of me with all these kids, and that you would think that we were giving them the golden goose,
Right.
But I've been to Saigon, war torn. when you see all this stuff physically, you come back and you want to do things and put it all together like that. So I also founded a for-profit and nonprofit LLC and corporation after I left the other business. Became more of a consultant because I had a lot of people wanting me to do a lot of things. So instead of locking me in and depriving, like I said, the challenges of, I don't want to say no to these people. I want, like you
right.
There's only 24 hours.
That's right.
Sleep is a good thing.
Yeah, we need our sleep.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I have an 80-year-old imagination is thinking this is how I feel. No, not some days. But then I just have gotten, then it's really been funny because I keep thinking, I don't want to retire my mind, okay, because I have too much to give. So now I've decided I'm at the age and stage where I really, on my personal bucket list, I only have more to give. I want to give more, do more of the philanthropy,
Yeah.
But I have a professional bucket list.
You're a service-centered leader. That's what you are. And
yeah,
I just
naturally so.
I just released that article about that last week about being a service-centered leader. And that's what you are. So if people look at you and think, wow, she's really scattered. She was like all over the place. She was Pan Am. She was this, that, that. She had her own show. She had multiple shows. She has publications and all these things. No, what it is really is that you are a service-oriented person. So for you doing all these things, the people on the outside that don't understand your drive and your motivation, it's really because you're a service-oriented person. Just even talking about religion and exploring, I grew up Roman Catholic as well. I converted to Baha'i. So I understand. My dad was a freaking.
I'm so excited about that.
Thank you. And that religion is a service-centered religion. So when I found the Baha'i faith, thank God, through my Persian adopted parents there on the West Coast when I was out there, I was so happy to see that I felt included finally, because I didn't feel included a lot of times when I had reviewed all these other religions and things, and I just never felt like I would fit in. And so for me, service is my number one thing. And that's you too. And so that's why you do what you do. It's not because you've got to be involved in all this stuff. It's not an ego thing. It's a service.
Not at all.
It's a service thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I prefer to be behind the curtain, and it doesn't matter. My satisfaction is handing the baton off to someone else who will be able to utilize it and further along their future.
Yes.
Better. And that makes me happy. I sit back, when I'm my age now, no, when I'm this age, when I'm that age, I want, no regrets, just all these wonderful memories of what these people are doing now with what I've been able to give. I'm definitely a giver. I'm not a taker. I make money for people. I don't take money from people. It's like, I sound like not that I don't mean to be, I always believe everybody knows their own value too, but I have a trademark. So I formed this for-profit and a nonprofit, and I'm converting them to Texas now because I have to have them here, because now it's expanded into many more other things that we have in common too. Mm-hmm. And more people need more of my services now in a variety of areas. So the only way I can do that with bigger, because there are a lot of, the for-profit was for small businesses and entrepreneurs. I wanted to encourage entrepreneurs to do their own thing, but not to do their own thing without knowing how to do it cost effectively.
Right.
And my trademark is, or my slogan for the trademark is, my tagline is "Where Spending Meets Giving," and it's I have a for-profit side, so where people are spending, I'm giving. So I take part of their money that they're spending, also is giving. Then the nonprofit side receives all of the benefits of their spending. So anyway, they're also married and interrelated. I have to tie things in because it cuts the work down. You figure you have 3 hours to do 3 things. So if you can do, you can dust while you're vacuuming, all of a sudden you've cut your work time in half. So, and that's now what I'm doing. I'm forming another LLC to put under this parent. And hopefully that will be my big hurrah, because what I want to do, on my professional bucket list, I want all of this education, all of this training, all of my experience, and my incredible network to be furthered on, to be given. I want to leave it to the next generations and people who don't have to do it. It's like a gift,
Yep.
Look, this is all done. You will understand how to do your job better after you know how you got to where you are. You're starting where I'm leaving off, and hopefully there's some retirement time in there. I don't know. I can't retire my mind. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I can retire my body this afternoon. I can't retire my mind.
Yeah, we can lay on the couch a little bit and then back up at it again. Yeah, there's still retiring. But I love that, and I love the fact that you want to leave a legacy forward, not just you, all the people you've helped, right? So that it's almost like a trust that you're setting up where it funds itself even in perpetuity.
Exactly.
And that's what
you and I must be twins. Mental twins.
I think so. I'll tell you. I tell you what I do, but you know what? I do better with people like you than others, because it's hard to sometimes get people to relate. Yes, exactly.
Understand each other, and that makes it much. And we progress. We can go faster that way.
That's right, because we have nonverbal communication that happens, right? Because we know. And
I think a lot of people are. I don't like to even mention things or say things. The worst part is when people ask for a resume. I'm like, oh my God, because I can't dumb it down, but I don't want to overwhelm people or intimidate people.
Right.
Because I've been blessed. Everybody would do what I've done if they had the opportunity and the time.
Why wouldn't they?
And but my 3 sisters, one of them raised, 4 kids and has her own engraving service, her own jewelry store. They're the official jewelers of the White House. She engraves all the presidential medals.
Oh my God.
She's phenomenal. She's phenomenal in her own right. She has not gone out of the country. Well, she has. I took her out of the country, but not a lot, But, my mom was at the National Institute of Health. I took her. I thought she was going to stay in Japan one time because I have a flight to catch, but you can stay 2 more days. And I said, I made the mistake of telling her she was going to fly on my past standby. I said, but I have you on a flight that I know you're going to get on. I think she went to the airport and sat there for 2 days and talked to everybody.
Oh my God.
She didn't like to fly. I don't want to fly without you. You're safe. I took classes, by the way. That was also, but I like to just make sure everybody else
is taken care of.
Yeah. And I'm a great taker. I'd be a terrible nurse. I knew that at the hospital in Lake Hippie. You don't want me trying to give you a shot. Guys, I don't, I would not want me to give myself a shot. But I'm so mesmerized, and I have I think the Jesuits really, they're such phenomenal educators.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but I went to Eastern University in Pennsylvania, which is a private Jesuit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I didn't want to see. There we go again.
That is. You can tell us on their way because they stretch our minds out.
Yes.
We can never put it back in. You can't put it back in the bottle.
No.
Jesuit educated mind back. Doesn't fit.
That's why we're so entrepreneurial, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's why we can pivot as easily as we can with all these things. Right. Most people would be stressed out and breaking down, and we're like, no, come on, let's do this. We could get this done. Speaking of done, it's that time.
I know. Oh,
I knew this was gonna.
Again,
yes, we could do. No, definitely, we've got to do it again because
I have to tell you something. My son's dad. Now, before he passed away, he said, I mean, a long time ago, before I became a single mom, of course, he said his biggest line was, and of course I was in television radio. His biggest line was, and introduce Dolores. That's what introduce. It takes Dolores 20 minutes to introduce herself. So I said, so then no one could give me 20 minutes as a time slot. That 20 minutes, when you said 20 minutes, I thought, ooh, 20 minutes again.
No, it's just that.
But I can do a 60-second commercial in 30 seconds. I can put 7 minutes of advertising in a 30-second a radio spot and get you to go buy whatever it is. So, I have my radio spots to prove them wrong. So 30 seconds.
I mean, come on, you're an amazing person. And I'm so privileged to know you, and call you my friend. We've known each other a couple of years now, and we've stayed in touch, even though through the pandemic and all the craziness that we're in. And, I'd like to invite you back on, because the next time we need to talk about some cannabis. That's what we need to talk about.
Oh, because, my God. Now that definitely.
Maybe.
So much.
Maybe
gone so far in that now.
Yeah. So, April's our month in cannabis, right? And so I'll ask Melissa to help schedule you back on. No, I'm being serious, because I really want to talk about cannabis with you. Today was just like, hey, let's just talk about empowerment and being women and moms and leaders and having so much commonality across the board. We've done different things, but we've done things that are synergistic, and that's why we get along so well. Exactly. And so I would love to.
And I want women to be, inspired, not by me and what I've done, just in the fact that I know women don't let especially what we're coming out of, this pandemic and the lack of socialism and social. They've taken away all of our sociability. And I think a lot of people, you can get very depressed very easily, and with the monotony of not doing anything and not being in your normal women habit and getting routines done. And I think that the kids out of school, there's just been too many side effects of that personally.
Yes.
Women need to just forget about and go for it, because I think there's more room and more opportunities now for women to do what that really fulfills them and their souls,
Absolutely. That's perfect. This is the best way to end this podcast session. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Oh, this is amazing. And I'll reach out to Melissa and have her take care of us again. And we'll talk about cannabis next month. No, but even cannabis is fun,
Cannabis is fun.
We make things fun. Exactly.
Exactly. And it's very intriguing. I think a lot of people need to know more about cannabis, for sure.
That's absolutely correct. And by then, I should have the launch of my cannabis magazine that's coming out for clinical research, nutraceuticals. It's a nutraceutical clinical research backed magazine. So, I'll be hitting you up for some articles, since I already know you can write.
I can definitely write. So that would be fun. And it's just so necessary right now.
Education. We've got to educate people. It's not about.
All it is with that.
This is nonsense. We've come a long way. Let's continue that growth.
Save a lot of people.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Well, thank you again, Dolores. I'll see you next month. I
can't wait. We'll have to do this on a regular basis.
I know, this is so much fun. I'm giggling the whole time. So like we always say in every one of our closing episodes, remember, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo. Thank you for joining us today.